is
This
seven
call is
figures.
being recorded.
And of course, his mandate, as we have stated so many times, is to be a blessing and help 200,000 families to earn six figures income and to be financially free. And everyone at this time, we do have someone who will be sitting in his stead, none other than his son, Joshua Smith, along with our team and trainer, Dr. Breakthrough, following Joshua Smith. Good morning at this time, Joshua. Are you there? And welcome to the call.
All right. Hey, Pastor Ellis, I think, we got a little bit of crossing. Joshua will be on tomorrow. Okay.
I see. Well, thank you so much, man of God. And welcome to the call, sir. You're doing a terrific job with your training. So take it away, please.
All righty. Well, again, thank you very much for your faithfulness and all that you do and the different leaders on the call this morning. And, of course, those getting on and those who listen to the replay. What a privilege and a pleasure, a treat and a treasure, a joy beyond measure to be involved with something, a group of people that have dedicated their lives to, making a difference. I often say there's three levels of success. Number one, and sadly enough, most people stop there, and that is making money. That's the lowest level. That's where most people stop. Number two, a higher level is making a difference. And everybody ought to want to make a difference. That's the second level. Number three, the highest level is making money while you make a difference. And so I'm grateful to those of you on this line that have dedicated yourself to that third level where you can make money while you're making a difference. And as my lovely wife, my ABCD, my adorable brown caramel delight, we often say, if it's not win, 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 we're not in. But when it's win, 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 we're all the way in. So we're going to talk this morning, finish a little series here, another series I'll start. And that is, I'm going to talk about, oftentimes when I travel and speak, and I've been blessed to speak in all 50 states, 28 countries, and then just this past weekend where I spoke to over 500 folks at a business training, and then got to preach to a group of pastors at a ministers conference just a couple of days before that. Or after that, excuse me. But one of the main things I do when I do a demonstration, as Dr. Breakthrough, I use motivation, inspiration, education, and entertainment to empower people to break through the barrier. So I usually have a piece of board, and on the board I write the word beliefs. And so if you're not driving, if you have something to write with, just write down the word beliefs, 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 right? Beliefs. So just write that word down. I usually take a board and write the word beliefs, and then I ask the crowd, look right in the middle of the word beliefs, and there's a three-letter word, just a little three-letter word. And if you've written it down, you can see it, and if not, it's called, the three-letter word is lie. You see that? Right in the middle of the word beliefs, there's a three-letter word called a lie. So I begin to explain to the audience, whenever there are lies that we believe in, we live a very limiting lifestyle. As a matter of fact, I write on the board limiting beliefs, right? So at the top I put limiting, and at the bottom I put beliefs. And I said, so whenever there's lies that we believe in, what kind of life do you think we're going to live? And I point to the word limiting, and they all shout out limiting. I said, whenever there's lies that we believe in, what kind of business do you think we're going to build? And I point to the word, they all say limited. Unlimited. Whenever there's lies that we believe in, what kind of relationships are we going to build? I point to the word, and they all say what? Limiting. So in other words, whenever there's lies that we believe in, we're going to live a very limiting lifestyle. And I really discussed that in my book, Your Breakthrough is Guaranteed, how that our belief system, that they say 90% of our belief system is developed by the time we are 16 or 17 years of age, which means most of what we believe, and about 70%, by the way, by the time we're 5 or 6. So, which means most of what we believe, we don't believe. We simply picked up or adapted or adopted what was going on around us, which means if we came up in a very empowering home, a very empowering environment, then, we picked up on some good belief systems. But if not, most of us didn't, then there are lies that we picked up on that other people believe, and they sometimes unaware, they just pass on what they believe passed on, and again, lies that somebody believed in that they passed on to their son, and who passed on to his son, their daughter, and they passed on to their daughter. Just kept on going. I always tell the story about the lady that she said, "Mom, why do you cut the ends of the ham off before you cook it?" She said, "Well, baby, I don't know. Let me ask my mom." And so she asked her mother, and she said, "Well, darling, I'm not sure. Let me ask Big Mama." And they asked Big Mama. Big Mama said, "Oh, girl, back in the day, the pans were so small, and the ham so big, you had to cut the end of the ham just to fit it in the pot." Now here it is, all these years later, the pots are bigger and the ham's are smaller, but they're still cutting the ends just simply because nobody stopped to ask to see. Okay, so what I'm saying is this: there are lies that we sometimes, and most of the times, unknowingly, as a matter of fact, we believe in that we are not even aware of. And so I take that board with limiting on the top, beliefs on the bottom, with the word lie sometimes underlined, and then I take that board and I break it over my head, symbolizing that when I speak, I'm going to empower people just like I broke over my head. And I pick up the board and I say, some two pieces now, and I say, so what I just did, I just broke the limit off of our beliefs. So right now, I'm going to speak. And so physically, I just broke the limits off our beliefs. Now, psychologically, and of course, if it's in the church, spiritually now, I'm going to empower you to do that. And that's what I want to do on our call today and get started on this, pardon me, and go into a little more detail. I've never done this anywhere. Go into more detail about some of the lies. Now, again, there are many lies that I personally believed in. And again, it was understanding the truth that set me free. As a matter of fact, Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 8, the second part of that verse says, "Ye trust in lying words that cannot profit." Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 8. Ye trust in lying words that cannot profit. Now, see, here's the problem. If you trust in lying words, why trust in lying words that cannot profit when you can learn to trust in the truth that can only profit? So what we're going to do is we're going to set some truth straight here. By the way, I often tell people this, that I've been going through this process, my friend, of many decades. And the more I study and the more I learn, the more I find that there were some lies that I'm, again, not even aware of that still have been stuck in my mind and in my spirit. And I have to, again, go in there and disassemble them, if you please. As a matter of fact, and again, it's not a preaching or spiritual call per se, but a stronghold is really, in essence, if you study it out, a stronghold is a lie that we've built a wall, a fortress around to protect it. And here's a sad thing about lies, and that is sometimes when lies are exposed that people believe in, it's a stronghold to them, and they don't want to let it go because it's an uncomfortable situation, right? It's like, you're taking me out of my comfort zone. And of course, I did just talk to you not long ago about life. Success in life begins at the end of your comfort zone. However, the sad thing, and this is why in home-based business, by the way, many people that you'll try to talk to will resist you regardless of how good your offer is, regardless of how good your company, product, or service may be. They'll resist. Why? Because they would rather deal, write this down now, with a familiar problem than an unfamiliar solution. In other words, they would rather stay with a problem that they are familiar with than a solution that they're unfamiliar with. And that's why in many cases it takes several times, and remember I said it takes hearing something 7 times, 7 different ways from 7 different people before people get it. And that's why oftentimes it's a process. And that's why my books are so apropos and will help you. Like, for instance, How to Build a Big Team Fast, right? You get many copies of that, get that out to people. And then as they start reading that, now they're getting a third party, somebody that's not involved, directly in what you're doing per se, but is backing up your industry, backing up what you're saying. Because when you speak entrepreneurial language, right, just like speaking English to somebody who only understands Spanish, and there's a disconnect, right? We always talk about the employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset. And the employee mindset, again, so focused on the risk, they lose sight of the reward. However, the entrepreneur mindset is so focused on the reward that they're willing to deal with the risk. So no matter what you do, there's always risk versus reward. You just want to make sure you take a calculated risk where it's calculated in your favor. So let's talk about some of these lies. And by the way, I'll start off with one of the main lies. You know, I grew up in the turbulent 60s, and many of you have heard my story about being beaten and tarred and feathered as a young child by a teenage gang. I mean, the turbulent 60s, there was a lot of racial tension, and never forget my younger brother, who's about 13 months younger than I, Ronald, and then our other younger brother, 13 months younger than Ronald, was Lonnie, you know, and we rode our bikes across the river in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where I lived. Across the river, there was the West Shore. Now, I didn't know that some folks, older folks, call that the White Shore, and I didn't know. But anyway, we rode our bikes across the bridge there, you know, and the Susquehanna River. We were just, you know, I think I was about 12, and Ronald was 11, Lonnie was 10. But anyway, and literally people came out their houses with bats and grown people, chases coming after us. And man, we just barely, my youngest brother just barely got away. And we were like, man, what? It was like, what in the world? But anyway, make a long story short, and all the different things that I went through, it kind of like, to me, it was like, man, if I wasn't black, maybe I could be successful. If I wasn't black, maybe I have better chances of making it in life. You know, when I was younger, that was my fault, because again, and back then, man, you never heard of anything or about any black person unless they were causing trouble. And the only thing we ever heard in school, of course, that we were slaves, you know, and other than Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and, you know, Martin Luther King and so. But I'm saying, so subconsciously, and then one day I heard a poem to help set me free, to help break me from the lies, thinking that you know, man, being black is bad, being black is a disadvantage. And then I heard a poem that goes like this: fleecy locks and black complexion, can I forfeit nature's claim? Skin may differ, but affection dwells in black and white the same. Well, I so tall as to reach the pole at a glance, at the ocean at a span, I must be measured by my soul. The mind is the standard of a man. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, it's not the color of my skin or the texture of my hair or the neighborhood or where. No. What makes the difference is not all those outward things, but rather what I put in my head that affects my heart. And all of a sudden, my friend, it helped me to break through the lie and realize my success is not based on outward circumstances. Get this now, not based on outward color or texture. And by the way, and there's only one race, by the way, it's the human race. This whole argument that people go through, I mean, there's one race, the human race. Acts 17:11, that's made of one blood, all nations of men. So there may be different nationalities, right, ethnic groups, but there's only one race, that's the human race. But at any rate, that helped set me free. That helped me break through one of the lies that I was starting to embrace. And sadly enough, there's still folks today that still embrace those same lies, whether they're white or black, right? I'm saying, and that's one reason why I've dedicated my life to teaching and preaching and empowering people and writing books and doing seminars and conference calls like this. And again, I applaud you, because it doesn't matter how passionate I get. It doesn't matter how dedicated I am. If you don't get on the calls, right, if you don't buy the books, if you don't access the information. So again, we applaud you and what you're doing. So let's talk about some of these things. Some of these you will be aware of and some you may not be. And again, keep in mind, I'm not just teaching that you're leaders. So I'm not just teaching you, I'm teaching you 2 Timothy 2:2. And the things which thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou unto faithful men who can teach others also. And by the way, when you say men, that's men and women, right? Male and female, and he called them man, right? So watch this now. So when I say this, I'm not just teaching you, I'm teaching you so you can get it, but then equally as important that you can teach it to other people, because you're leaders, right? And so I want you to get it. So first of all, you are aware of the story of Roger Bannister. If not, you need to know. Roger Bannister, he used to teach years ago, and this is in the last illustration. I'll get into the nitty-gritty. Roger Bannister, they used to teach back years ago that if a man tried to run a mile, if he did it in less than 4 minutes, they thought it was impossible to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. They call it the sub 4-minute mile. They said literally, humanly, it's impossible, the doctor said. Your lungs would explode. So obviously, runners were afraid, right, of even, it's like, look, let's don't run too fast, right? We could explode our lungs. Well, there was somebody named Roger Bannister who didn't believe that, right? And so in London, Roger Bannister set out to prove them wrong, the sub 4-minute mile. And he did so. And when Roger Bannister did that, and again, the only reason he could do that is because he didn't embrace the lie that was being espoused, and even by the doctor. So watch this. Here are the experts saying, if you try to do this, you will kill yourself, right? So everybody out of fear said, well, I don't want to run too fast. I'll kill myself. Roger Bannister said, man, I don't believe that. And because he didn't believe that, he was able to break that barrier. He was able to break through that sub 4-minute mile. And as a matter of fact, my friend, it wasn't but a few weeks later, somebody even broke his record. And then somebody broke his record. Now today in high school, if you can't run a mile in 4 minutes, you're literally considered slow. I'm saying, listen, my friend, and that's why I'm telling you, that's why my life, again, is Dr. Breakthrough. I keep saying I can't provide the breakthrough. I just prescribe the breakthrough. But when people follow the breakthrough prescription, God Almighty provides the breakthrough they desire and deserve. And a breakthrough, it's exploding through barriers that at one time seemed insurmountable. So let's take the first slide, real simple, and that is I can't. I can't. That's the first slide that so many people believe in. I know I believed in it for so long, for so many years. I can't. Now, I like to take the word I can't, take the T off, and now it says what? I can. See, if you think you are beaten, you are. And if you think you dare not, you won't. If you'd like to win but think you can, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you will lose, you've already lost. For this powerful truth we find, success begins with a person's will. It's all a state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger woman or man, but sooner or later those who win, those who first think, then know that they can. And I'm telling you, my friend, the lie that so many people believe in that keeps them from succeeding is they say, I can't, right? And the home-based business arena, in life in general, but again, saying and thinking, I can't. As a matter of fact, let's move on, because I'll tie this in together. What about this one? The second one, it's impossible, right? Now, I kind of covered that because I talked about Roger Bannister, but what about this? It's impossible. Now, again, I talk about my book, aerodynamically, it's impossible for the bumblebee to fly, but because the bumblebee can't read, he never read what they said aerodynamically, so since he doesn't know he can't fly, he just flies. Come on, somebody. I'm saying, listen, my main mentor, Bill Bailey, who again mentored Jim Rohn in the early days and Les Brown and so forth. But Bill Bailey, one of our coaching sessions, and now he's in heaven. But we were talking, and he said, young Dr. Breakthrough never used the word impossible. He said, now say something's difficult, say something's hard, but never use the word impossible. And I said, okay. And he said, I'll tell you why. He said, because my grandfather said, and it was taught and heard, it's impossible to put a man on the moon. And in his generation, that's what they believed. He said, my father grew up with the same thing. It's impossible to put a man on the moon. He said, but 6 months after Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, I had lunch with the man. So he said, well, my father believed was impossible. My grandfather believed was impossible. That passed it on. My father believed was impossible. I had to realize they were wrong because I sat down with the man who actually did what they thought was impossible. See, it's always, Nelson Mandela said, it's always thought impossible until someone does it. And again, when I take one of those boards, before I break the board on there, I put a space. I say, if you put a space between an M and a P, instead of impossible, it says I'm possible. And that's what this call is all about. That's what my books are all about. That's what my speaking is all about, to let you know that you're a possibility. You're a promise. I am possible. Listen, my friend, and again, with man, things are impossible, but with God, things are not. And I'm telling you, that's why I tell people, listen, I'm telling you, even if you don't believe in God, he believes in you, and you need to connect with him, because I'm telling you, my friend, that's when the real breakthrough starts to happening, my friend, and your mind. So I'm saying this, the whole lie of I can't, the whole lie of it's impossible. And I'm telling you, my friend, as long as you think something is impossible, it stops you from even venturing forth. I used to see people in the martial arts years ago breaking boards and breaking bricks and flipping people. And I used to think, man, that's impossible, right? And as long as I thought it was impossible for me. Now, I kind of thought now it's possible for others because I saw them doing it, right? But I said it's impossible for me. And that's the way some of us are. We'll think, okay, it's possible for these other people, but it's not for me. And that's the way I was. And guess what, my friend? And then one day, you've heard the story many times. My mom wanted a free month of karate lessons. I went with her, and they were kicking and chopping and screaming and hollering. And man, her free month, every I don't know why my other brothers didn't go, but I went. And I was watching, and mom, man, she's getting better and better. And at the end of her free month, now she starts paying her money because she's serious, and she keeps going. And week after week and month after month, she gets better and better until one day she got so good that one day her and her boyfriend got in a fight, and she knocked him out cold. I mean, hit him in the jaw with a side snap kick and knocked her boyfriend out. I looked at Ronald. Ronald looked at Lonnie. We looked at the guy on the ground. We said, man, whatever you do, don't mess with my mama. She bad, man. My mama's bad. But it dawned on me, if martial arts could help a 5'1" woman knock out a 6'1" man, I need to notice that. So all of a sudden, what I thought was impossible for myself, I said, wait a minute, now if it's possible for my mother, if I get trained like my mama got trained, now all of a sudden it would be possible. And of course, many of you know the story now that, 10 years ago I retired as a heavyweight champion with Karate World Rating System. I've been voted to the Black Belt Hall of Fame, and less than 100 10th degree black belts in the world, and I happen to be one. But none of that would have been possible. Why? If years ago, if I'd have never broke through that impossible, and in some cases, my friend, seeing my mother do something that I thought was impossible, said if it's possible for her, it can be possible for me. That's why you've got to get a breakthrough in your life. That's why you've got to break through these lies, my friend. Why? Because if you don't break through the lies, your children, my friend, will embrace the same lies and live with the same limitations. If you don't do that, my friend, they'll pass on to their children and their children. I'm saying somebody has to stand forward. Somebody has to be bold. Somebody has to be courageous. Somebody has to check and question the status quo. Somebody has to see, is this possible, my friend? And so instead of saying, I can't, we need some folks to say, I can. Break through the lies. Instead of saying, it's impossible, learn to say it's possible. See, I like to say the difficult we do now, the impossible takes a little while. But hey, my friend, it's a lie that people believe in. And whenever you have a belief that you're living based on a lie, you're living a very limiting lifestyle. What about the next one? Well, no, let me back up here. When I said that it's impossible, I just posted on Facebook this morning, by the way, a quote. Let's see here. And I said, the giant in front of you may be huge, but it's a midget compared to the God who's for you and the God who's inside you. Man, can I just say that again? I just want to hear that myself again. I said, the giant in front of you may be huge, but the giant in front of you, whether it's a financial giant, a physical giant, relationship giant, the giant in front of you, I'm not negating it, may be huge, but it's a midget. It's only a midget compared to the God who's inside of you, or for the God who is for you. So, my friend, I'm trying to tell you, you've got to understand it's time to break through the lies. The lies have been holding you back from your success. The lies have been holding you back from experiencing the breakthroughs that God wants you to have. The lies cause people to live a very limiting lifestyle. And it's time to break through the lies. Well, there's so many other things I could say on that, but let me just move on. And that is, and I trust you're taking notes. Remember, I say note takers are money makers, but action takers are super money makers. So again, don't just take the notes, take action on the notes that you're taking. So here it is again. What about this? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Now, it's an amazing thing to me that some people, under the guise of being humble, quote unquote, have this philosophy. Well, and I just tell people a lot of times in seminars where I'm speaking and in life in general, you need to give yourself permission to succeed. I'm giving you permission to succeed, and you actually don't need it, but I'm going to give you permission to succeed. But give yourself permission to succeed and realize that you are good enough. Les Brown always says, don't allow other people's negative opinion of you to become your reality. And we were speaking together in London when he said that, and I said, Les, I've got something even better, and that is only allow God's opinion of you to become your reality. But again, in your own self, you may feel like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. But listen, I'll tell you how good you are. I'll tell you how worthwhile you are. God sent his own son for you. You're somebody, my friend. Matter of fact, I put on Facebook the other day, dear self-esteem, I'm breaking up and never coming back to you again because now I am connected to God esteem. Come on, somebody. I said, dear low esteem, I'm breaking up forever because now I'm connected with God esteem. And I put P.S. I'm never coming back to you. But think about that, my friend. So some people, sometimes it's not conscious, sometimes it's subconscious, and they say I'm not good enough. That's why they self-sabotage. That's why when something super good is about to happen, they self-sabotage and do something. It seems like because again, subconsciously they feel like I just don't really deserve this. I'm not really good enough. By the way, that I'm not good enough or I don't deserve, right? That's a Danish word, the word deserve. D means from, serve means service. Deserve. So it means from service. So in other words, watch this now, whenever you provide service, now you deserve, right? So watch this. And I had to, because this really was bothering me for a while, and there was some financial blocks in my life. And part of that was I was like, well, am I deserving of all this money, right? And watch this. One of the things I had to realize is whenever you provide service, you now deserve to get paid. And when you realize you deserve to get paid, come on, somebody, money starts coming your way from different sources, different ways. And listen, my friend, and now you're open to it and you can attract it. But see, when you start from, well, I'm just not good enough and I don't deserve this, I'm telling you, my friend, it's blocking you. It's hindering you from receiving so many good things that would come your way, so many good things that are yours. All right, I'm going to close out with this one, and we'll pick back up tomorrow. But what about this one? I'm not educated enough. Oh, come on now. I'm not educated enough, right? I mean, man, I tell you what, we all, again, all 50 states I've spoken in, they all believed and heard the same thing. I'm originally from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Now, of course, we live just North Texas, north of Dallas here. But everywhere I've been, they've all been taught the same thing. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get better grades, get a job, and live happily ever after. And that formula doesn't work. I mean, not to make substantial money, right? I mean, that formula doesn't work. And yet those are lies. Those lies have been embedded in our head. And watch this, my friend, and people start thinking, I'm not educated enough. And so they go to school to get all these degrees, and they get more school, and people start thinking, well, I can't be successful as so-and-so because I don't have all those degrees. And I talked to you the other day about the education, and our educational system here in America is messed up. Our education system, most places. I mean, it's erroneous, my friend. They grade you based on how well you can regurgitate facts back to them. That's not education. By the way, if what they teach you is wrong, if they teach you a bunch of lies, you now have a degree in error, right? We all call it liology or something, right? But what I'm saying is this. I'm saying this, my friend. You will see that people like Bill Gates and Jobs and others, my friend, who quit college, Steve Jobs, quit college to go on and make money. The owner of Facebook, same thing, Zuckerberg. I mean, so many people, my friend. I mean, listen, there's a difference between being school trained and truly being educated. But I'm saying people keep thinking that right now you don't understand, but the largest group of unemployed people in the world today are college graduates. Why? Because now they're being told they're overqualified for a job. We've been fed a bunch of lies, and those lies that we've been believing in have been keeping us back. So, my friend, it's time to break through the lies.